This is The Radio Station, a podcast about the radio industry with hosts Dr. Lynn O'Kelly and Dr. Rob Quick, presented by Routledge.
We're just evolving. We just have to support the younger generation to keep going.
The thought we had behind preparing this podcast was textbooks are fine, well, and good, but making them come alive is more important.
There's a personality to the radio that will never change, and that we will always need it.
In-car radio listening is now back. It's jumped back to pre-pandemic levels.
I read this post. It was like, I wish there was some type of podcast, but it was live where I could get news in the moment. And I was like, yeah, that's called radio. What are you talking about? That's what we do.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast for The Radio Station. We are launching this podcast as a companion to the Radio Station textbook, and we are glad you're here. We'd like to introduce ourselves, those of us who've been working on the book. I'll go first. I'm Dr. Lynn O'Kelly. I'm the director of the School of Communications at Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan.
Cheers, Len. I'm Dr. Rob Quick. I'm director and professor of the W. Page Pitt School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Marshall University, and also founder of College Radio Day, which is now in its 15th year.
I'm Peter Creighton. I'm the Director of Student Media here at St. Xavier University in Chicago.
I'm Dana Schaefer, and I've been in the radio industry for the last 15 years as a producer and host, and I'm on the board with the College Radio Foundation.
My name is Tim Craig. I'm the chair of the Communication Arts Department at Warner University in Lake Wales, Florida.
So the thought we had behind preparing this podcast was textbooks are fine, well, and good, but making them come alive is more important. A book that's going to be used in a class where students use their voices should have voice, and this is the voice of the textbook. So as we make our way through the various topics that a first-year broadcast student would want to know, we'll be bringing in some experts to give their perspective beyond what you would find typically in the textbook. It'll go past words on the page and become thoughts in the head.
And I think also people being able to hear some of the voices that will be in the book, because as we were putting together the book and doing the various interviews, we said, hang on, when we interview people, we should also get them to sign off and agree to be part of the podcast as well. So we are getting like a twofer in a way. When we interview someone, we say, will you be in the podcast? And then some of the content of what they're saying will make it into the book. But it does bring it alive. And also, there's so much more flexibility with the podcast than there was with the book. The book is great, don't get me wrong, but the podcast allows us to sort of address certain issues if they come up, hot issues and hot topics as well, like that.
One thing about the broadcast industry is there are changes happening all the time. There's changes in regulation, changes in ownership, changes in the way we do the things we do. And it's important to be able to keep fresh and be up to date as those changes happen to make sure that the students and the instructors who use this book have the most current and up-to-date information that they can.
So let me ask the team in this first episode then. Let's start with Pete. I mean, all of us work in radio in some way, shape or form. And obviously the first question we're going to ask, or try and answer anyway, is the always oft point that radio is dead or radio is dying, there's no future for radio. And let's respond to that. What is your response to that, Pete?
My students always ask me that, or say that statement to me all the time when they begin audio production. But by the end, they always know the importance of radio. Radio is not dead. Radio is evolving. You know, podcasting is an offshoot of radio at the end of the day. More people are consuming podcasts on a daily basis than there were 10 or 15 years ago. So I think radio is very alive and well. It's changing. It's becoming something else. And I think the growth of community radio stations is something that is very exciting. Radio is alive and well. It's changing. It's evolving.
Inside Radio, March 21st, came out with a story that, according to Edison's Infinite Dial study report, in-car radio listening is now back. It's jumped back to pre-pandemic levels. So, obviously, a lot of people are not in their cars during the pandemic, but now it's back. 84% of people surveyed over the age of 55 use AM/FM in the car. 74% of Americans aged 18 and older currently use AM/FM radio as an audio source in their primary vehicle when they're out and about. So radio is still a part of everyone's lives. Dana, what is your response? Is radio dying?
I would not say radio is dying at all. I mean, going to countless conferences and events around the nation all the time as part of my job, I see a lot of the younger generation, me being kind of in the middle of two generations right now. I'm in my 30s, but the younger generation still is very, very passionate about it. It's just that we need the right support and the right leaders to show that there is still radio. There's still people out there that are interested in it. But, just because we look at these two or three biggest corporations in the audio landscape as, the radio end all be all, that doesn't mean anything. Kind of like what Peter just said, it's a lifeline in a lot of smaller communities. And working in affiliate relations in radio in the past, talking to all these affiliates around the nation, like thousands of them, a lot of these stations are smaller radio stations. And it's very important that we support those people and those stations around the nation and have the, younger generation also go there and experience what real radio is. And yes, podcasting is important and there and evolving from radio. But I always say that basically what podcasting is now is what radio was before all the talk breaks and stop sets. So we're just evolving. And we just have to support the younger generation to keep going.
Yeah, I think that's exciting. I was going to echo what Dana and Pete said. It's evolving. And so this is really an exciting time because we don't know what's going to happen. We are at the front end of things. And so for students and for instructors like myself, could be a little bit, you're a little bit scared as to what's coming down because you've done it a certain way. But it's also an exciting time. It's a way for students to explore, for people who have the time and the thought process to try new things. And so I think that radio is definitely not dead. And I always think back to events, like huge events. It's usually the radio stations that get the information out first because there's an immediacy to the radio. There's a personality to the radio. And so I think that will never change and that we will always need it. You think about natural disasters or something like that. You could be talking to somebody from a radio station, but they're on TV. But that's still the radio station that is at the forefront of it. And so I think a lot of times people don't think they listen to radio, but they get a lot of information that starts with radio.
Our first guest in the first episode of this show is Vont Leak, and Dr. Quick had the opportunity to talk to Vont about his career and the direction that radio is going.
I think it's perfectly fine to like your own posts on social media.
Nope,
I
nope.
realized
What?
I was
That's
doing it
pathetic.
yesterday.
Is that
Pathetic.
bad?
Bailey, you think it's okay to like your own post?
Yeah, because-
Why, though? What are you proving?
Nothing necessarily. You're just saying like, hey, I posted this. Good job, me. I live a dazzling life.
But don't you
Like-
already acknowledge that because
Yes,
you're posting
'cause
it?
you
You're
posted
posting it, so
it!
you know that you like it.
But also, isn't it like more likes means more people see it? in
It's
the
like
world?
sending yourself a birthday card, open in the mailbox and going, oh, look at this. I got a birthday
And then
card.
read the message all surprised. Have a great year, you.
I'm so
I will.
sweet.
In that same vein, sometimes I text people some funny things, and then I read what I said, and I'll be like, "This is funny," and I'll go double tap and haha, like I'll react to what I said.
Yeah, don't do that.
The last couple of years or so, nutshell your journey in radio.
Yeah, I when I was in high school, I knew that I wanted to do like media. Never knew it was like radio. I didn't know radio. I was more like a film, TV kid. But when I went on a tour of William Patterson, which is where you and I met, I remember I walked in the radio station and I was like, "Where is everybody?" Because it was empty. And the station manager at the time, Seabass, was like, "Oh, they're all in Puerto Rico doing like a relief mission." And I just thought that was so cool. So I applied to William Patterson, got accepted, joined the radio station, became very involved very quickly. I was the program director for 3.5 years, and I won a national award for that twice. And then I also hosted for 3.5 years the morning show, Morning Commute, which also got another national award. So I did that pretty much the entire time, maybe starting my second semester until the day I stepped foot off William Patterson. Through my time there, I just learned to love radio more. And I think I just learned radio more. I learned how to execute a proper talk break or like what studying was, like the intricacies, right? And I used all that because William Patterson is 20, 30 minutes from New York City. I started networking with some other alum like Dana Schaefer, Nick Gomez, Mike Medium, who are also doing things in big markets. And I speak to some of those people regularly. And I used that to make connections. So then fast forward to May 2023, which was 15 months ago, if that. I graduated college and I applied for a couple of jobs in New York City. I also had an internship at SiriusXM. I applied for a job in Des Moines, Iowa, is what I did through iHeartRadio. It was to be a morning show producer and a midday talent. Midday is like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I got that. Within 3 weeks, packed up my bags and moved. And I know a couple people that did. Des Moines, Iowa is like market 71 because radio is broken down into markets. So it's very low. But I knew people that are in market number 1 now that started there. So I did that. And I swear to God, it was the first day that I was there. It was July 17th, 2023. I got a phone call from my now boss saying, hey, your social media, your air check, your demo came across my desk. I want to hire you. So I was in Des Moines for maybe 32 days. What's that? A month. Packed up again and moved by myself to Minneapolis, Minnesota, which I am now. I became the night personality on 101.3 KDWB, which is a heritage top 40 station. We have Dave Ryan in the morning. Dave Ryan has been the morning show host here for 31 years. So it's a legendary name in radio and in the company. I did the night show for 8 or 9 months. And then by happenstance, the producer, I was talking to Dave and my program director about how eventually I want to do mornings. Like my boss can tell you my goal is to be like a Seacrest, like a jack of all trades. And it was like February, March, the producer of the morning show got laid off. So I was asked if I could come in and just help until they found a replacement. Maybe 2 weeks of that went by and my boss's boss called me and was like, yeah, I think I like this. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? So there was like a weird interim period of like 2 months where like I was doing both. I did all that and I was doing the morning show and the night show and barely sleeping, but it was fun. And then eventually it became official and me and another woman were named new co-hosts of the Dave Ryan in the morning show, which is just incredible. And I get to do that every single morning with Dave Ryan, who is a legend. Dave Ryan is amongst like the Elvis Durans and the Bobby Bones of radio. And then Jenny, who's also been with Dave for 8 years, and Bailey. It's just so fun. I literally just got home from work. I get to wake up every day, play Taylor Swift, and talk about who Nick Cannon got pregnant today. Like I couldn't ask for a better job.
So let me ask you then, and let's cut straight to the chase, because in this podcast about the radio station, which is part of obviously the radio industry, and let me just come straight at you with some things that we hear people say all the time. Who listens to radio anymore? Isn't radio dead? What would you say to that?
First of all, radio is not dead. I've always argued that, but the living proof is, and this is a true story, my birthday is this Monday coming, and I wanted to get to I'm at like 4,000 followers on Instagram. So I made a joke on air today. I said, I want to get to 5,500 followers on Instagram. So Dave said, what's the incentive? So I said, if I get to 5,500 followers, which is, I need like 1,000 followers to get there, I will post an embarrassing photo of me on Instagram. And literally within 10 minutes, I gained maybe 500 followers on Instagram because people care about radio. People care about a connection that they can make with you every single morning. It's so like going from like, I think the night show to the morning show definitely helped me realize like when we're doing the morning show, people are just like there. It's literally like when you wake up and I don't know if you put like slippers on in the morning or you brush your teeth or you pour a cup of coffee. It is a ritual. It's a routine for people to just wake up with their companion. And, you know, that's why people have certain bits like a War of the Roses or something, because they track, we're part of their day. Like, you know, when you hear like Elvis Duran's phone tap or War of the Roses, oh, I better be out the door by this time. So radio is not dead at all. People use it as a connection to learn, to be entertained, to feel. I didn't think radio, like the connection and like the stories that you tell were as important to people in radio as a couple of months ago we did a bit. It's called The Hat of Vulnerability. And this girl talked about like how she lost a friend. The friend didn't die. They're not friends anymore. And she cried. And so many people texted in and were like, Bailey, I lost a friend. It feels good that you were able to share this because I felt like I was just being corny, being sad, but I can relate to you. So people, it's a companion. That's literally what it is.
You're going in his 20s and you're doing exceptionally well in your career. Are the younger people in this country listening to radio anymore?
Young people, more than I think. Like when we go to the Minnesota State Fair, there's so many young people that come up to us and they just, like I said, they go through the things that like I'm going through. I'm a 22-year-old Black and Hispanic man that lives in Minnesota. I talk very frequently about like my background, or like I'm looking for a Black barber, or talking about the fact that I just graduated from college. And there are people that text in like, hey, like I'm also 25 and I'm about to move to a new city, or like I'm about to just start college and I didn't even know that young people were on the radio. And so it's like I said, there's so many like there's so many young, and I'm friends with a lot of them, so many young people that they're trying to build shows around young people, because now there's a new generation of people and there's different ways to connect. Dave Ryan is 62 and I'm 22 years old, and we play a game literally every week called like, where it's like a generational gap thing, and people are like, oh yeah, Vont is funny because he said this and Dave doesn't get that. It's just, so the fact that I can connect with, I guess, a range of people that I didn't expect, where it's like older white people or younger Black and gay or certain religion, like it's just so dope that you can connect to so many people that understand and want to connect with you.
How would you feel? Because on the national level, your name has been mentioned many times as being representative of the younger generation that's involved in radio, in many ways, the future of the radio medium itself in the USA, particularly. How do you feel about your name being used in that way, and that you being held up as an example as someone who kind of carries the hopes of the radio industry?
I think everybody that said my name is drunk. I'm kidding. No, I think I love it. I mean, I don't think I'm anything special. I think I'm just a kid chasing a dream who's been, I don't want to say lucky because I have worked for everything that I have, but just blessed that, the things that I've been working for have paid off. And I'm grateful because some of the names that you mentioned of people who are saying my name, I just can't even imagine that. Like that's incredible. Like Sean Ross. I remember you texted me, it was like 2021, so what, my sophomore year of college, and you were like, Sean Ross wants to write an article about you. And I was like, what? And that article is still up on Radio Insight on Sean Ross's thing. And then I saw Sean Ross a couple of months ago at the IBS convention in New York City. And he just has nothing but great things to just say and just feel good. So the fact that a prestigious person like Sean Ross or anybody else that you're mentioning even knows that I exist is just phenomenal. And it gives me hope that, like, in the future, I can be of the Sean Rosses, or like I don't know, the Tom Pullmans or the Ryan Seacrest or the Bobby Bones of the world.
So let's say reading the book that we're doing or listening to this podcast, what advice would you give to someone who's a student who's like, you know what, I didn't really think about working in radio, or I would like to work in radio, but I have no idea where to begin? What advice would you give them from your own experiences?
I think it takes a while to find maybe a radio station, because there's so many different types of radio, right? Long form, short form, different genres. So once you find a radio, like, I guess, genre that you like, listen to it for 15 minutes and lie to me and say that you didn't hear something that you were like, oh, that you connected to in some way, whether it's something you laughed at, something you were like, I went through this same thing, maybe a song that they played. I like, just lie to me and say that you didn't connect to it, because in some way, shape, and if you didn't connect to it, then that's fine. It doesn't mean radio is dead. It just means that wasn't the station for you, because it's literally our jobs to connect with you, to, make you feel, to walk away with some type of emotion or feeling, or even if it's something as simple as like walking away with concert tickets, like it's our job to please you. So my, I guess, piece of advice is like, try it out for like 15 minutes, like you would anything else. And if you listen, I'll give two types of advice. Listening to radio, expand your horizons, just because I'm working in radio, I've learned to appreciate different types of radio that I never thought I would. And if you ever want to get into radio, I think honestly the same advice. Listen to different types of radio that you never thought you would. Listen to things that make you kind of uncomfortable, or things that don't necessarily interest you, because people like the fact that you have vast knowledge in things. I mean, a radio and entertainment, period. The more you can benefit somebody, whether it's, making a joke that somebody else might not have gotten, or talking up an artist that the other person in the room might not have known about. It makes you so much more valuable. And then I think you just become just a better rounded human being, because it's another form of content you can't get anywhere else. I read this post. It was like, I wish there was some type of podcast but it was live where I could get news in the moment. And I was like, yeah, that's called radio. What are you talking about? That's what we do. Sorry, I'm passionate about radio.
No, do not apologize for that, my friend. Biggest on-air mistake you've ever made?
I don't want to say mistake, but something I was just like, dang, after I did it. I was like very excited about a bit we were going to do. And then when it happened, I got kind of anxious, and I hate listening back to it because I cringe at it, but I kind of bailed on the bit in the middle of it. And at the end, my boss was just like, next time, just, even if you don't feel good about it, nobody else listening knows what it was supposed to be. So just let it play out. But you could definitely tell I like bailed on it. And it's because I got anxious.
Proudest moment on the air?
Proudest moment was, I think, when I got vulnerable for like 15 minutes, just about me being lonely. Because I'm not a vulnerable person like that. I'm not a person that, like, I like to wear my emotions on my sleeves to like people I'm close with, but on the radio, that's just never been my persona.
Who inspires you the most in radio? Who's a role model?
Ooh. I know a lot of radio people, but I always go back to Ryan Seacrest just because he literally does it all. He does a radio show in X amount of markets, does 30 TV shows, and that's just the goal for me. I do want to make my way back to TV one day, and the fact that Seacrest just does it so effortlessly is just so cool.
Final question for me. Where do you see yourself in the future? What would you ideally like to become or be?
The goal is to have my own morning or afternoon show in a tri-state market. So many people are like, oh, tri-state because it's number one, because New York is the number one market. I just want to be home with my family and my friends. Yeah, yes, like New York is the number one market. That's great. And New York, New Jersey is home for me. But I just want to be close to family and friends, because it sucks being here, living the dream, but having nobody to share the dream with, you know? So if I could come home and do the things that I love and talk long form with like a co-host or a couple people, I'd be living the damn dream.
And finally, anything else you want to add that we didn't bring up?
Listen to the Dave Ryan in the Morning Show. We're on every single weekday morning, 5:30 till 10. You can listen anywhere in the world on the free iHeartRadio app. And yeah, I'm grateful to God, and I cannot wait to. This past year, I've been reflecting on this a lot because, like I said, my birthday is Monday, so I've just been looking at my past year and how just the steps and the levels. Don't let anybody ever tell you your dreams are not achievable. I remember sitting in Brave New Radio at William Patterson, just like praying that I would get a DM back from any local jock. Or I remember when I live in I'm from Trenton, New Jersey. I remember hoping that I would get hired at like the local top 40 station, which is Market 110. Now I'm living my dream on a major market morning show. Like that just it's so unheard of. Well, don't let anybody tell you can't chase your dreams, and you just keep chasing after them.
So there you have it. An interesting look in our conversation with Vont Leak about the state of the radio business. Our mission with this podcast companion to the radio station textbook is sort of to leave no stone unturned, to basically probe the deep issues of the radio broadcast industry in a way that is useful for both students and for the instructors who are working with them. Now, coming up in the future, we'll be having an opportunity for you to reach out to us and ask the questions that you would like to see answered, perhaps even in your own words through a voicemail box. So be listening for that in future episodes. Until then, from all of us connected to the radio station textbook, thank you for listening.
Bye. See ya.